Modern education is failing. Children are increasingly taught by screens instead of books and teachers. But what did one of the greatest Western philosophers have to say about real education compared to today's schooling? Let's explore the ideas of Michel de Montaigne, a 16th century French nobleman and Renaissance philosopher who experienced a rather unconventional education. As an infant, Montaigne was sent to live with a peasant family, a deliberate move by his father to, and I quote, draw the boy close to the people and to the life conditions of the people. Once back at his father's chateau, Montaigne was immersed in Latin, not just in lessons, but in daily life, as even the servants were instructed to speak Latin with him. Ironically, Montaigne later lamented that his natural grasp of Latin was ruined by the rigid formalities of university education. To him, effective education didn't rely solely on institutions. His alarm clock? Live music played on a different instrument each morning, a symbol of how culture and learning were organically woven into his everyday life. However, boarding school and law school disrupted this idyllic education, shaping his later critiques of the formal education system. In his famous essays, Montaigne identified the education of children as the most important difficulty of human science, because children, after all, are the future of humanity. So what was the true aim of education according to Montaigne? And even Socrates? It was virtue. Montaigne criticized modern education, saying it does nothing but furnish our heads with knowledge, but not a word of judgment and virtue. Without virtue, knowledge can be dangerous. Only after learning what is wise and good should we pursue the sciences, which in Montaigne's time included logic, physics, geometry, and rhetoric. Otherwise, we risk creating unethical scientists, manipulative strategists, and cunning sophists. But Montaigne's critique went even further. He believed education should be integrated into daily life, not separated into dry, monotonous lessons. It is not a soul, it is not a body that we are training up, but a man, and we ought not to divide him, he wrote. Formal schools didn't become widespread until the 1800s. With the Industrial Revolution came an education system focused on standards, rules, and conformity, designed to prepare children for factory work. Today, modern education pushes formal schooling onto younger and younger children, with toddlers often enrolled in structured programs. But what about quality? Montaigne emphasized depth over breadth in learning. We should rather examine who is better learned than who is more learned, he wrote. A poor education crams facts into students' heads without teaching them how to think critically. As Montaigne famously remarked, we can say, Cicero says thus, "These were the manners of Plato, these are the very words of Aristotle. But what do we say ourselves? What do we judge?" A parrot would say as much as that. True education means forming independent thought, not just reciting what others have said. The Spartans were known for their sharp rhetoric, even punishing boys who answered their teachers' questions with too many words. For them, brevity and clarity were key, a stark contrast to the wordy, repetitive methods of modern schooling. So how do we become truly educated? Montaigne believed the answer lay in reading the great books. He shall, by reading those books, converse with the great and heroic souls of the best ages, he wrote. Classical literature allows us to engage with timeless ideas and learn from history's greatest minds. Yet Montaigne warned that reading without reflection is futile. It is an idle and vain study to those who make it so by doing it after a negligent manner. But to those who do it with care and observation, it is a study of inestimable fruit and value. In other words, anything worth doing is worth doing well. He viewed history not as a collection of dry facts, but as a study of human nature and psychology. Modern education often strips history of its heart, reducing it to dates and events without delving into the motives and consequences behind them. A good teacher, Montaigne wrote, should not so much imprint in his pupil's memory the date of the ruin of Carthage as the manners of Hannibal and Scipio, nor so much where Marcellus died as why it was unworthy of his duty that he died there. We don't read history for the plot. We read it to understand the human experience. So how can we reorient our education system toward Montaigne's ideals? How can we revive a love for the great books, many of which modern schools now ignore? If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below.